This is Judge Joe Brown, and we're listening to We All Be News. News-free Dixie for the 21st century.
We All Be is honored to have on the one and only brother Dr. Umar Johnson, who is beyond category. Ain't no one like him on the planet, doing the people's work in business 366 days a year, because it's a leap year. How you doing today, sir?
Good afternoon, my brother. Thanks for having me on the show. Peace and blessings to the state of Tennessee.
I want to ask you a couple questions. I mean, so much stuff going on in the world, but let me just start out and point that you lost Dr. CREss WElsINg earlier this year. I know she was a colleague of yours. You worked on the Power Talks with Brother Carl Nelson rather than Dick Gregory. I just want to get your thoughts about her.
Certainly. Dr. CREss WElsINg and myself were probably the two most prominent, conscious, doctoral level mental health experts in our community. Losing her, we lost a great treasure of wisdom as well as knowledge. She was very impressive because she was one of the only, if not the only, black psychiatrist since Frantz Fanon who had the commitment to her people to sacrifice all of the money that she could have made and prestige that she could have earned by teaching about racism and white supremacy and its impact on our people. Her seminal work, the ISIS Papers, which is a classic in mental health as well as black revolutionary consciousness, will always be remembered as one of the groundbreaking books on black consciousness. People fail to recognize Dr. WElsIng was not just a PhD like Dr. Umar. Dr. WElsIng was an MD. She was a licensed medical physician and earned her training during a period where it was very difficult for African people in this country to get a doctorate degree. So as far as her sacrifice and her commitment, it will always be remembered. As you mentioned, we shared the stage several times, most prominently with the Carl Nelson Power Talk Fab 5 series, which featured myself, Dr. WElsIng, Baba Dick Gregory, Dr. Carl Anderson, and of course, Dr. Anthony Browder. So she will be missed, and I will be going to a memorial in her name in Washington, D.C. in a couple of days.
And I know people raise the issue about what caused her death. I know Automatics published something that white supremacy killed Dr. WElsIng. And a lot of people talk about her issue with the Jewish primary school, that the noise and complaints and whatnot. And even she said in the Final Call article back in 2013, I believe, that may be the cause of her death, like, you know, her stroke or heart disease or whatever.
I do believe at that age, because she was an elder, psychologically speaking, the older you get, the more susceptible and sensitive you are to stress. So someone of her age, in the golden years, living next to a racist academy with noise all day long, hustle and bustle, not having peace of mind, I'm sure that that played a degree of into her development of stress. Whether I can tie it exactly to her demise or untimely death, I cannot say, but I would not be surprised. It is very plausible that the stress of living next to that type of atmosphere could have definitely played a role in her untimely death.
Now, a source told me too as well that she was involved in a car accident just a day or so before she passed.
I wasn't aware of that.
Somebody told me that close to the situation, so
I wasn't aware.
Also, let me ask you about, you know, the Oscar situation. You know, we saw the video with Jada Pinkett Smith coming out about the Oscars, and people complaining about where are the nominees of color. For the last 2 years, there have been no nominees.
Well, the Oscars have been racist since their inception. They have consistently, historically, only awarded African people Best Actor or even Supporting Actor awards when they play some of the most disrespectful and demeaning roles imaginable for black people. You look at Denzel Washington, he had to play a crooked cop before he could win Best Actor. Halle Berry didn't win Best Actor until she played a prostitute. So this is in keeping with it. We see the comedian Monique, she won Best Supporting Actor for that trifling role, played in Precious, stereotypical ghetto mother who didn't care about her child. So they're only interested in awarding black people when we fulfill the expectations that white people have for us. From a Garveyite perspective, from a Pan-African nationalist perspective, I would say, why do you need the Oscars at all? The issue is not the Oscars. White people have always been consistent. You cannot be disappointed in white people because they have always been consistent. You can only be disappointed in people who have shown you one type of behavior and then flip and begin to exhibit a different type of behavior. white people have always been consistent towards black folk. So you cannot be disappointed. For me, the Oscar problem is not an Oscar with white folk. It's not an issue with white people. It's an issue with black people. Why do we need their validation, their acceptance, and their approval to feel that we have achieved a certain level of prestige in our positions? Why can't we have our own black equivalent to the Oscar awards? Why can't we have our own black equivalent to the NBA, the NFL? The problem is not them. The problem is our need to be validated by them.
Now, I know you said so eloquently that you are an organizer, you're not necessarily a leader.
Yes, sir.
And I'm looking at the fact that I had heard an interview not too long ago with Mickey Leland.
Okay.
The late representative from Texas. You know, back in the 80s, he died in an airplane crash in Ethiopia. And we're talking about the state of black leadership. And you know, a lot of my friends was discussing the fact that there is no black leadership no more on a national or even local level. There are no black leaders in politics right now, and we got a so-called black president in the White House. What is your take on the lack of black leadership? Is black leadership dead in this country in this era?
I think so on many levels. Now, local black leadership, I would say, is alive and well and thriving. There's a lot of unknown brothers and sisters on the local level who do an excellent job organizing and leading on the local level. But in terms of a national black leadership front, we are definitely within dire straits. Obviously, the Honorable Minister Farrakhan comes to mind when we talk about black leadership, and I think he has been an excellent spokesman. But in terms of actually leading us somewhere, I'm not aware of any agenda he has to actually improve the condition of black folk beyond talking about it. So we have spokespersons, but we really don't have leaders. Al Sharpton is a spokesperson. He doesn't have an articulated agenda to help black people. To lead, you're taking people somewhere. Leading is action. It is not standing still. So to be a leader, you must have a plan in order to move our people. And I'm not aware of anyone on a national level who has that. We need that, because we're lacking it right now.
But also, you know, a function of a black leader, especially a Pan-Africanist, is to talk about the relationship with the motherland, and the mother continent. And I know Dr. John Henry Clark, over 20 years ago, was very critical of Minister Farrakhan for not mentioning Africa during the Million Man March. And I was in the march 20 years later in October, or the rally. And he did not mention Africa at all in 3 hours speaking. So can you actually be a black leader and not mention Africa?
Yes, you can be a black leader and not mention Africa. You cannot be a Pan-Africanist leader and not mention Africa, but in respect to the minister, he's not a Pan-Africanist. Nation of Islam has never been Pan-African. So you can be a black leader, but for me, if you want to truly solve the problems of African people, you have to have a Pan-Africanist outlook. Because from a Pan-Africanist perspective, no problem gets solved locally unless there's international collaboration. All of our problems that we suffer globally are almost identical. Wherever I travel in the world, Jamaica, South America, Canada, Europe, Africa, wherever I go, the problems are almost identical. So you need an international approach to an international problem. And that's been the problem with black leadership. Most of our leadership since Garvey, and of course with Malcolm being the only exception, Stokely Carmichael, Kwame Ture being an exception, most of our leadership has been localized. You cannot fight a global enemy with a local approach.
I also want to ask you this too, as far as our approach, like the late great Malcolm X talked about 50 plus years ago, that we cannot pick one political party over the other to solve black people problems. That we got to have a different approach strategically when it comes to politics.
Yes.
So what is the approach we need to have when it comes to politics right now?
The approach that we need to have when it comes to politics is that we should divest from all political parties. We don't even need a party. We don't need to belong to a party. What we need is a black political union. We need to tie all black votes together and then use them as leverage to influence those who are running for office and those in office to carry out the black agenda. We need to understand that money controls politics. Politics do not control money. That means that black people's economic and spending habits exert a significant influence on their political positioning. People use their money to influence their political reality. That's why every group in America is doing better than black people. They all use their money to influence the political machine. Black people never use their money to influence the political machine. We simply vote. Everyone else is voting and financing candidates. Whoever pays the piper calls the tune.
Wow, that's powerful. I also want to ask you about the FLINT situation, because I'm thinking about Katrina. It happened in 2005 and how people couldn't believe, black folks couldn't believe the government would do them like that, or even January 6th. And I'm asking about strategy. What is the correct approach to this situation? Is it sending bottled water and bailing out a government or a system that does not bail out black people? Is that the answer for it?
Well, we have to send a bottled water because the brothers and sisters need it. That's a critical intervention. But that's just addressing the immediate crisis. It's not solving the problem, but we have to do it. Okay, well, they need the water, but to solve the problem, they're going to have to redirect the water source that's coming into Flint. From what I understand, I was in Flint for Martin Luther King Day. I was the keynote speaker there, and I learned that Flint had the opportunity to get its water from another source, from Detroit. They chose to keep on getting it from, I believe, the Flint River. Most of the suburbs around Flint now get their water from Detroit and other places. So why is Flint the only municipality in that area still getting their water from a poisoned water supply? You see, that's intentional. You see, this is genocide that's taking place. Not only that, what I told the brothers and sisters in Flint was that you guys need to get a cadre of attorneys, and you need to put together a class action human rights lawsuit against the United States government, as well as the state of Michigan, as well as the municipality of Flint. That is a human rights violation, and as far as I'm concerned, it meets the definition of genocide. The United Nations definition of genocide talks about any type of intentional or unintentional, and that's the key, intentional or unintentional situation that leads to a gross amount of loss of life or destabilization of quality of life. If you look at the definition of genocide, the Flint water crisis meets that. But I'm not hearing anyone in Flint talk about a human rights lawsuit, a class action lawsuit. They are entitled to reparations. The blacks in Flint are entitled to reparations for being consistently and systematically over decades. This is not new. We're just finding about it now, but it's been going on. They're entitled to reparations for crimes against humanity. No one's talking about it. On top of that, the motor giant in Flint, and I forget which company, GM, whichever one is based in Flint, they're responsible for the poisoning of the water, because what they were doing was taking their toxic waste and putting it in the water. The city knew, the state knew, the government knew, no one did nothing about it. This goes back almost 100 years since the founding of the automobile. No one did anything about it. So guess what? There should be a lawsuit against them. The auto manufacturer being complicit with the state, the local municipality, as well as the federal government. No one's talking lawsuits, no one's talking crime against humanity, no one's talking genocide.
Let me ask you this too. I think it's very interesting. I did a quick observation. Like the mayor of Flint is a black woman, right?
I believe, yes, I met her while I was there. Psychologist, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, PhD, educated, you know.
Very good sister. I believe she cares. I definitely believe she cares. She's new though, so she's just getting in. So you always want to be respectful about giving them some room to wiggle, you know, because she just got in office. I think she cares, but here's the thing. Politics is a machine. Right. No one person changes it. And here's the issue with the black politician. They need to be honest about that. Stop making black people think you're going to win this election, get into office, and then all of a sudden start making all these changes. Stop making black people. Tell the truth. Listen, y'all, I really don't have any power. I really don't have any authority. I'm going to do the best that I can by my community, but there's really no guarantee. If you're honest about it, nobody will be disappointed in you when you fail. But when you sell black people a false bill of goods about how you're going to change the city and change this and change that, when your campaign was financed by the people who corrupted the city, then you're not serious. So we need more honesty in politics. Stop giving out false promises. See, and that's a big issue in American politics at all. Collectively, 40% of Americans do not vote. 40%. See, people talk about black people don't vote. Right. White people don't vote. Let's understand something. Rich people don't need to vote, because money controls politics. So it don't matter who wins. That's right. I'm going to do what I want to do because I got the money to pay them all. Poor people don't vote because they know nothing on the electoral agenda is about poor people. Right. Look at this now. Right. Guess who votes? Middle class people. And because black people are largely concentrated amongst the poor people don't vote. So black people don't vote.
That's a great observation. I also want to ask you, like, what is this phenomenon where it's like you got black women in places of so-called power, whether it be the Attorney General, whether it be the mayor of Flint or the mayor of Baltimore, or even the president of the Oscars or the Academy? It's like all this stuff is happening. Well, why are we giving them a pass? I'm like, why are we, like, if there was a black man who was the mayor, like Kwame Kilpatrick, he was the mayor of Flint, or a black man who was the mayor of Baltimore, would we give him the same type of pass or consideration
as we give a woman?
Right, a black woman.
I think the reason why the pass may be given to the sisters is because we know that they exercise no authority in the long run. Women are not threats to men. Physically, militaristically, women are not threats to men. If a white man has his preference, he would rather take a black woman over a black male. That also helps to explain why we see so much effeminization being directed at black males, because the only acceptable black male is a soft and effeminate black male. That's why when you look around American society, many of the black men who are being promoted to positions of authority, college, church, politics, media, business, most of them have an effeminate posture. Doesn't mean they're homosexual. They just have an effeminate, non-threatening, anti-alpha male energy about them that makes them acceptable to white males. It's not everyone, but it's significantly more now than it was before.
I want to talk about this because you're very perceptive when it comes to media manipulation and psyops run on our people. And this week is so-called the Super Bowl 50 coming up. Cam Newton is going to be the quarterback for Carolina Panthers versus Peyton Manning. And it's like the media is trying to make it like a race war, like it's Jack Johnson versus James Jeffries.
Because it is. You got to understand something. Cam Newton is the Muhammad Ali of football right now. He's the Jack Johnson of football. Because here's a young black man who's won every award imaginable in football. He's won the Heisman. He's won the national championship. He was the #1 pick. He was rookie of the year. He has the best record in the league this year, closest person to going undefeated in a long time. He obviously is going to get the MVP, although they do not want to give it to him. They have no choice because Tom Brady doesn't even come close. Okay, he's the best football player in the world. And guess what? He's probably top 10 greatest of all time. And by the time he's done, he probably will be the greatest. He'll never get accolades for that, you understand? But he will be. If he gets that Super Bowl, he will be one of the youngest, if not the youngest, quarterback to ever lead his team to an NFL Super Bowl. You understand? If he wins that, he is Superman. He's done it all. He's run the whole racket, and he's not even close to 30 years old yet.
Wow.
So from a white supremacist standpoint, about privilege and domination and control, Cam Newton is living testimony that you are not as great as you think you are. Remember, the quarterback position has always been the position of white privilege. You see, and here's a black young male, 24, 25, who has taken it and reinvented it. He's done more to football than what Michael Jordan did to basketball. They hate him, and he has some racial consciousness about him.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna ask you this too as well. With he wore some zebra pants recently.
I didn't see it. Yeah, I heard about it, but I didn't see it.
I'm saying, like, people trying to say they use him as a Trojan horse, so to speak, like with Michael Sam, to introduce the feminization of black people.
I didn't see it, but I would say this.
Okay.
It's very important that the image of the black male be emasculated.
Right.
So white folks do not feel a threat, which is why most alpha male athletes have been made to dress up as women. LeBron James, Usain Bolt, Larry Johnson back in the days of the New York Knicks. This is what they do, effeminize the masculinity. It's a way of toning it down.
Yeah, also, you think it's a coincidence that the OJ miniseries is being released this week? When he rode the white Bronco on the football.
Yeah, I don't think it's a coincidence. OJ was also a great NFL player. I think they're trying to draw some sort of indirect parallel to Cam Newton. There's always an attack there. Every show that's released is released for a particular reason. So I do think there's something to that, but we don't know it just yet.
Awesome. I also want to ask you about the Nat Turner movie. It got a lot of rave reviews at the Sundance. And also people were saying that, that they have a problem with the brother Nate Parker.
Yes, married to a white woman, which I didn't know. Playing Nat Turner. He sold it to Fox? I didn't know that.
Byron Allen allegedly offered $20 million, and he went with Fox instead for 17.5. So he went for
I didn't know he sold it. Okay, because last time I heard he was fishing for a distributor.
Right, Fox got it.
Okay, Fox got it. Okay.
What are your thoughts about that?
Well, I'm disappointed that he's married to a white woman. How do you play such an unapologetically African revolutionary as Nat Turner and you married to a white woman? That was unacceptable. That was unacceptable. It's no different than the brother from London who played Dr. King in Selma. It's not acceptable. And there has been a history of getting these black males who have acquiesced to racism by dating and marrying white women to play the role of some of my most unapologetic and uncompromising leaders. I take issue with that. I'm looking forward to the movie. I think the movie may be beneficial for our children. It's long overdue. I'm just hoping that it was not watered down at all. But I am disappointed that the lead actor is married to a white woman. That takes away from the greatness of that.
What do they say about a lot of civil rights legends being married to white women, like Harry Belafonte or Julian Bond's second wife?
It's a contradiction. Okay. But from an integrationist philosophy, it's not a contradiction. Because they believe that racism is only the problem of a few white people, as opposed to those of us who truly understand racist philosophy and ideology from a Pan-African nationalist perspective. We know that all white people are racist. It doesn't mean they hate black people, but all white people are committed to the white privilege that they exercise vis-a-vis black, and there's not a white person walking this earth who would ever want to give up the advantage that their skin color gives them.
In the words of Great WElsINg, we love you, man. Good Dr. Umar Johnson. Thank you so much for
Thank you, my
time
brother.
with us, and keep on, man.
Honor is mine. One love.
You.